Good morning, everybody. I think it's live. Oh, good morning, everybody. I just want to close some things on my desk. Just give me a second. I have a lot of things open, and naturally, it's telling me to close some applications. Now, I know today is part of the holiday weekend, so I'm not sure how many people are going to be here, but we're going to celebrate watercoloring for today's Simple Saturday. I know we usually make some cards, but I thought this time for a Simple Saturday we would work on techniques. So instead of coloring with blends, you can do some quick and easy watercoloring techniques. Okay, so give me a minute. I can't see my messages, so I'm just going to jump in on my iPad so I can at least see my messages. I don't know why they did this to the new lives, but you can no longer, I can no longer see my messages. There we go. Okay, so now I'll be able to see if anybody sends a message. Okay, so for the first technique, this is a pastel watercoloring technique. Now, all these products are available in the Stampin' Up! Store, and you would just pick me as your host. And, all right, it looks like, let's see. All right, I think that's working now. Okay, it's a little, I think it's hanging up just a little bit, so I apologize for that. I'm not using a streaming software. I am just using the in the group. Okay, so for the pastel watercoloring technique, you're going to need pastels. You're going to need StazOn ink pad, a water blender, and the shimmery white cardstock. Now you can't tell by the video, but the shimmery white cardstock is shimmery. It has little sparkles in it. It's very, very pretty. Now I did already stamp the image, and for these videos, I'm using the new Cottage Rose stamp set, okay? And I chose this flower and then the leaves. And what I actually did, let me see if I have, yep, it's right here. Let me just get a scrap piece of paper so I can show you exactly how I stamped this flower. I'm just going to get a piece of regular basic white cardstock. And I am just going to, I did it ahead of time to make sure that the ink was very dry. So I'm just going to take the flower and I'm going to stamp it. Okay. Then while it still was wet, I took a scrap piece of paper, stamped the flower, and then cut it out along the top of the flower. So I could use this as a mask. And I put it down so it's all lined up. And then I grabbed my leaf stamp and inked that up. And I'm just going to add another piece of paper to the side here in case I happen to rock my block. And I'm just going to stamp my leaf right over top of all of that paper and then pull this off, and you can see that the leaf is behind the flower now. Okay, so that's masking your flower and adding on your leaves. So let's close up this ink pad. And I'm sorry if it is the video is lagging. Okay, so here's our flower. Now we're going to color it. I think we'll use some light colors. So we'll use some, and I just want to make sure of this is Coastal Cabana. Now this is a scrap piece of the shimmery white cardstock, and we're just going to add some color. Let's grab some green for the leaves, and we'll add a darker green, and we'll add some yellow for the middle of the flower. So we have Coastal Cabana and Daffodil Delight, Granny Apple Green, and Mossy Meadow. And then we're going to grab our water painter. Now you want to make sure your brush is nice and wet. So let's just move this out of the way, and we're going to squeeze the water painter, and mine needs to be cleaned because we want to make sure that our brush is nice and wet. I need to take mine apart. Oh, there we go. Okay, so it's nice and wet. And we're going to pull in our image. And we'll start with the dark green first. Nice and wet on your brush. You're going to pick up some of your color, and then you're going to watercolor with the pastels wherever you want the dark green. And I'm just picking and choosing. I'm following, you know, I always say I follow the artist's lines because that's where they want their shadows. So that's where I'm adding my dark Mossy Meadow. And we'll add some right down here where it comes to the flower. And then I want to clean my brush. Make sure we have some more water on the brush itself. Okay. And now we're going to pick up our Granny Apple Green and pick up some of that color, and then we're going to add it to the leaf again. And I'm actually going to go over the Mossy Meadow. And we're just going to color in the leaf. So then we have our little leaves, and they are colored in. So there we'll jump to the flower. Again, clean off your brush. Oops. Make sure your brush has good water on it. Let's jump to the Coastal Cabana. Now with the petals, again, you want to get the dark where the artist's lines are, because those are her shadows or his shadows. So we're going to add some pastel, and I'm going to start down here close to the petal on top of it. Sorry about that. And then we're going to pull it out all the way to the end. If you want it darker, you want to go over it again. And I would do it petal by petal, not leaf by leaf, petal by petal. So I'm coloring over the artist's lines. That's my shadow. Pick up some color and then do it again and pull it all the way out to the end. So then your shadow is where it's supposed to be, and it gradually gets lighter. Then we're going to go in closer, pick it up. Here's our shadow. And let's grab some more color, and then we're going to go right to the end. It's very relaxing. It's a very simple technique. You just want to add your color, go over it if you want it darker, and then pull the color out around the edges. And you would continue to do that for every single petal. Then what I would do for the inside of the flower, I would do my petals first, and then I'd grab some of this Daffodil Delight and just add a little bit of yellow to the inside of this flower. And then let that dry. And you would continue around with all your petals, and that's the pastel technique. Very quick and easy. Then you can, this would have to be fussy cut because I added the leaves. If you were to do just the flower, you could die cut that flower after you were finished. Okay, so that's technique number 1. Technique number 2 is a faux watercolor technique. And this time, let's get rid of these pastels. Let's get them out of the way so I have some room on my desk. You'll need the watercolor paper. Now this one, it doesn't create a big giant mess. Not that that first one was messy, but if you really want something that's simple, so here's my watercolor paper. And we're going to grab the same flower again, but let me just clean this stamp off because of the stays on. So I'm just going to grab my scrubber here, and I'm going to add some stays on cleaner. And I'm just going to rub this to get that stays on off. Okay. So we have our watercolor paper, we have our stamp. Since we use Coastal Cabana with the pastels, I grabbed my Coastal Cabana stamp pad. I am using my water painter again. And this time, let's get this paper out of the way. All you would have to do, hey Julie, how are you, honey? I'm sorry if the video is lagging. We're going to grab our stamp pad. We're going to ink up, and I'm going to make sure that my painter has water in it. I think after this I'm going to clean my water painter out. We're going to ink up, and then we're going to stamp our flower. And while the flower is still damp, you're going to take your water painter and you're going to go over the lines, and it's going to be very subtle. The color's going to be very subtle, and it's actually warm in here, so the ink dries fairly quickly. And if it doesn't work the way you want, you can use your stamp pad. And starting again at your petals, pull that color up. See, my room is pretty warm, so the ink is drying fairly quickly. But you're going to put the dark and pull it to the edge of your petals. So you want the dark to be where the petals overlap, and you want it to be lighter at the end. Now, like I said, this one is a little bit more subtle. And if it was cooler in here, it would have worked better, but the ink dries so quickly in my room. Of all the rooms in the house, this one, believe it or not, it's not air conditioned. I keep it closed off. But that's what you would do. Okay? We can try it again. Just ink up really well. Stamp your flower. And then pull the color. And then, like I said, it would be very subtle color, but you would do in each petal individually. And then you would just go around. If you want highlights, I would leave the tips without color, and it'll separate each of the petals. So you would just go around. Each petal individually. And then this one you could die cut, because I just used the flower itself. And you can do it with any stamp, any image, any colors. You don't have to stick with what I'm using here. It works with anything. Now, the last technique is called Emboss Resist. And again, we're going to use our watercolor paper, our water painter. I grabbed a block, which probably it's water on there. I didn't clean it good. So we have our block. We're going to grab some Versamark. We're going to grab our white embossing powder. Of course, you're going to need a heat tool. And I grabbed some inks. Highland Heather, Parakeet Party, and Tahitian Tide. And this time, I'm going to pull the stamp set out so you can see the image really well. This time, I grabbed this image, and I did do it ahead of time. And this is also on the watercolor paper. So what you would do is grab your stamp, ink it up with some Versamark, add some white stamping embossing powder, heat it, and then you would have, and again, oh, there we go. Here's the image. You can see it's stamped on the white paper, and it's been embossed. Very difficult to see. Hey, Sharon, how are you, honey? Very hard to see, but it is there, okay? Now, this time, I am even going to grab a little bit of water so we can really wet up what we need to do. Like I said, my water painters are giving me trouble today. Okay, so I want to do the flower in purple. Here's our leaves, and then I'm going to add some color in the Tahitian Tide over these petals here. Now you could use this as a complete sheet, or when you're done you can die cut it. So let's start with the leaves. I'm going to grab some Parakeet Party and I'm going to move this down. So I'm just going to put a drop and see how that works first. And our water painter, make sure you have a good amount of water on your brush. You're going to pick up some color and then you're going to watercolor over the embossing. And I'm going to come right down the stem. And we're going to go over this leaf here. More color. If you want the leaves darker, you're going to use less water. If you want them multicolors, you can just continue to work. And here's one leaf right here. So let's color this up. Now you don't have to be neat. If you wanted it a little bit more abstract, you could go outside, and that's what we'll be doing to these little flowers. So once it is painted, if it is too much water on it, you can dab some of the water up so it'll dry just a little quicker. And then you have your leaves, and they are shadowed all by themselves. So let's clean off our brush. We're going to get rid of this green. We are going to, what did we say, the Tahitian Tide. I wanted to do the flower. No, we'll do the flower in the purple. Okay, so we're going to add some color. Going to make sure I have enough water on my brush. I'm going to pick up some color. And oh, I forgot a leaf right there. And then we're going to color in our flower. And you can see that the water is resisting the embossing powder, the embossed image. I'm going to make it darker in the center, add a little bit of water, and pull that color right out. And you can keep going over it and pull the color right from the center out to your edges. You don't have to worry about doing individual petals on this. Add some more water and color in the rest of this image. If you want it darker, again, just add some more ink. Let's clean that off. And I'm just going to grab that little bit of green to get that other leaf there. Just a tad. I didn't see it hiding right there, so we're going to just pull some ink. And we're going to color in this leaf right here. I'm going to let that dry. All right, so we're going to clean that up. Now, with the Tahitian, just going to put a little tiny bit. And on this one, these little individual flowers, I'm just going to color in this whole area just like this. Add some more water, lighten this up a little bit. So that's covering up all those little flowers. Get a cleaner spot on your towel and dab it up. So when it's die cut, let me see if I have my dies here. I'll just pull it out so you can see. We would line this up. And you would notice that the whole area there is colored in. So it'll be die cut out, and this whole area would be in the blue, and it would show your flowers through. So now this image is ready to put, hey Margaret, how are you, honey? To put on the front of your card. So we have our embossing resist. Clean that off. We have a faux technique, which is a little less messy. And what did I do? Oh, here it is. And then we have our pastel technique. This is watercolor paper, and shimmery white. Now the pastel effect you can use on watercolor paper also. These are just the papers I chose to use. But we can pull in, here's the shimmery white, this is the watercolor. We could grab some of our Coastal Cabana and do it with the Coastal Cabana. Now I'm running out of color there, but I'll show you that it does work. Okay, it would still work on the watercolor paper. What'll happen is, depending on what paper you use, you'll get different color effects, darker or lighter colors. But there you go. That's 3 quick and easy techniques that you can use probably with products you already have. And there's 3 more techniques. And I will not be doing a stepped up Sunday this week since it is the holiday. So I think I'll do another watercoloring technique during the month. So welcome to the July, which is watercoloring month. Thanks for joining me today, ladies. I hope you'll use some of these techniques on your cards, and I'll talk to you soon. Have a great holiday weekend, and please be safe. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.